Before I was 12 years old, I grew up watching horror movies like Signs, The Ring, and a few zombie movies. But as mentioned in previous videos, at 12 I was really introduced to horror films and horror subgenres, which included paranormal, slashers, psychological, action, horror, and the list goes on. But there is one genre that I hadn't yet discovered, and that was the found footage genre. Later that year, Paranormal Activity came out, and I saw it when it was released on DVD, and that was my first found footage film that I saw. I remember how scared everyone was at my school at the time, mainly because everyone thought it was actually real. After that, more found footage films started to get released, and the genre intrigued me, so I watched as much of it as I could, and saw a lot of amazing found footage films, but also saw a lot more terrible found footage films. But in this list, I'll be counting down and reviewing 5 underrated and lesser known found footage horror films. This won't be a generic list, so I won't be including films like Wreck, Grave Encounters, or the VHS series, because in my opinion, those films at this point are already pretty well known. Instead, I'll be focusing more on the found footage films that seem to go under people's radar. With all that being said, let's get right into the video. Number 5. Paranormal Entity. Before I continue, I do have to say that this film is a mockbuster, a movie designed to capitalize on the success of a more popular film. Paranormal Entity is a knockoff of Paranormal Activity. Produced by The Asylum, well known for making mockbusters, the film follows a family that consists of a brother, a sister, and their mother, as an entity begins to haunt them and goes after the sister, Samantha. I felt like this film wasn't terrible like people made it out to be. This movie got a lot of bad reviews, mainly because it's a knockoff of Paranormal Activity. Although it does have its flaws, the film is surprisingly good, and I think it's underrated. Pacing is really good. It always kept me entertained, and there's a lot of suspense and tons of scary scenes that are just as effective as the Paranormal Activity films. The acting isn't the best from some of the actors, but it's not terrible either. It's decent. There are a few flaws, mainly the ending. It felt rushed and could have been better, as well as the set design. The house always felt empty. Overall though, the film is pretty good and a hell of a lot better than the past few Paranormal Activity films. If you're a fan of those films and found footage films, and can overlook that this film is a mockbuster, then I think you'll enjoy this flick, because I did. A 3 out of 5.
Come on. What the fuck?
Why is he
Number 4. The Poughkeepsie Tapes. The Poughkeepsie Tapes is a 2007 American mockumentary found footage horror film. When hundreds of videotapes showing torture, murder, and dismemberment are found in an abandoned house, they reveal a serial killer's decade-long reign of terror and become the most disturbing collection of evidence homicide detectives have ever seen. I recently saw this flick and really enjoyed it. It's unique and made me feel very uncomfortable. A lot of that had to do with the overall style, tone, and atmosphere. Also, the acting by the serial killer is great. He gives a very creepy performance. The time period that the murders take place in is the 90s and the early 2000s. And they do a pretty good job at making us feel like we're in that time period. What I didn't like about this film is how distorted the found footage is. It's constantly flickering and distorting. It just wasn't necessary, and would have been more enjoyable if it wasn't too distorted or in such a poor quality. Also, this film isn't really gory. I'm okay with very little gore, but in this case, I think if they would have put more blood and gore in this film, it definitely would have been more effective and more disturbing, especially how they describe the killer in this film. I expected a little more blood and gore. For people who like gory films, you'll probably be disappointed with this film. I found this film to be very interesting and still disturbing at times, mainly because of the killer's performance and the atmosphere in this film. I give it a 3 out of 5. Check it out.
You know, if I was the big bad wolf, there's nothing you can do about it. Well, you want to see what it looks like through the camera?
No.
Here.
Number 3, The Tunnel.
Trevor, did anything happen to you down there? Trevor, are you all right?
The Tunnel is a 2011 Australian found footage horror film. We follow a journalist and her film crew that investigate a government cover-up about the abandoned train tunnels beneath the heart of Sydney, Australia. They decide to investigate the tunnels. While investigating, they quickly realize something sinister is stalking them. This film does take its time to get going. The first 30 minutes of the film is pretty slow, but once the crew gets to the tunnels, the film really picks up. And this film had me on the edge of my seat. It's intense. It was made with a small budget, and they do a good job of what they had. Without giving anything away, in the tunnels is something stalking them. They don't show too much, but don't show too little either. Also, the actors do a great job with everything. The performances are fantastic. The film is suspenseful, chilling, and makes you feel claustrophobic, just like the crew in this film exploring the dark tunnels. Overall, I recommend this film to any fan of found footage films. 3.5 out of 5.
Oi! Just give me the torch.
Chef, come on,
Just
let's get out of
Give
here.
me the torch, you bitch.
No, don't!
It's cool.
Come on!
Fucking cool. Oi! Think you can tag on my fucking work, do you?
Fuck, Seth, come on! We gotta fucking...
Watch it, you
Fuck!
Seth!
Seth! Seth? What the hell, Seth? Come on! Hold on. Seth, answer me! Seth!
Fuck this shit, I'm out of here.
Seth, hold on, don't go anywhere, wait.
Jayla, come on!
Seth, stop! Seth, don't back up! What the fuck are you doing? Help! Seth! Seth, answer me, please!
Number 2, Creep. Creep is a psychological found footage horror film that follows a videographer who answers an online ad created by Joseph, a dying man who hired the videographer to follow and record a series of videos of him for his unborn son. As they get closer, the videographer starts noticing Joseph's odd behavior. The film is dialogue heavy, so for a lot of people that may be a problem. This film has no blood, no gore, and very little to no violence, and it really surprised me. It relies heavily on the actors' performances, which are incredible. They give excellent performances. Pacing in this film is perfect. Never felt slow, which is surprising for a film that's dialogue heavy. This film is very suspenseful. I feel like if Alfred Hitchcock were to make a found footage film, it would be something like this one. It's also very unpredictable. We just don't know what's gonna happen next, which keeps the audience guessing what the characters will do next. It's filled with suspense, lots of tension, and it all builds up to a well-executed ending. Overall, a solid low-budget found footage horror film that's pretty unique and original. I recommend this to everybody. Everyone should check this one out, even if you aren't a fan of the genre.
Why do you look scared? Don't be scared. It'll all be over soon.
Before my number 1 pick, here are some honorable mentions.
Go back up! Go back up!
いたくさんいる気がする。
なんか見えんの？
いや、見えるわけじゃなくて。
Number 1. Afflicted. Afflicted is a Canadian found footage horror film. We follow two friends whose goal to film themselves travel around the world and live life to the fullest. But it's quickly cut short when one of the friends starts showing signs of a mysterious affliction after meeting a mysterious woman. He then begins to change into something else. I recently stumbled upon this one on Amazon the other day and wasn't really interested in watching another found footage horror film, but I gave this one a shot and was really glad I did because this film is well worth the watch. It surprised me at what the filmmakers were able to accomplish with such a low budget. The lead performances are pretty good and the special effects are amazing. I'm surprised they pulled it off with such a low budget. The film was made with around $300,000. It's impressive of what they're able to accomplish. This film didn't look or feel like a low budget found footage film. It felt like it was on the same level as the VHS series. And that's thanks to the amazing special effects, camera work, and editing. I also love the locations they filmed in. They visit France, Italy, and Barcelona. I recommend this film to everybody, even if you're not a huge fan of the found footage genre. This film is pretty entertaining. It has great performances, locations, and of course, incredible special effects. Check this one out, it's available on Amazon Prime Video. I give it a 4.5 out of 5. So what are your favorite underrated or lesser known found footage horror films? Comment down below your list. I also plan on making more short films, movie reviews, and more of these lesser known videos soon. If you haven't already, follow me on Instagram and Facebook. Links will be in the description below. I'll be reposting most of my videos there and more original content. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you haven't already, subscribe to Pure Horror TV for more horror related content. Until next time.